At 3:13 a.m., Evan Parker pressed his mouth close to the living room wall and whispered, "If you're real, say something." His phone lay on the coffee table, the red record light blinking. The house held its breath. The clock ticked once. Something inside the wall answered. It wasn't an echo. It came back a half-second late, in a thin voice that sounded almost like his, but colder. "If you're real, say something." Evan's stomach dropped. He stepped back so fast his heel hit the rug. "Who are you? Who are you?" The wall tried, then changed, the words bending like they were learning to stand. "Who? You?" The lamp flickered. The drywall gave a soft, dry creak, as if paper were being pulled. A cool draft slid out near the baseboard and touched his ankle. Then the voice spoke one new word. Not a copy, not his. Evan. The lamp went dark. He reached for the switch in the black, fingers shaking. Something small slid behind the paint, like a fingertip finding a seam. The baseboard made a tiny pop. His phone screen lit by itself and the waveform jumped high. The wall breathed in. And the opening ends with the crack in the paint lifting like an envelope, just as a gray fingertip presses from the other side. 2 weeks earlier, everything had been normal. Evan had moved into the little one-story on Willow Bend, a quiet street with big trees and mailboxes shaped like barns. He taught 5th grade science at Northview Elementary. He liked routine, coffee at 6:30, school by 7:30, bed by 10. He liked sound he could name, dishwasher hum, street tires on wet pavement, neighbor's lawnmower on Saturdays. The house had good bones and bad paint. The previous owner left a box of odd things in the garage, 2 old doorbells, a bag of mismatched screws, and a cheap podcast microphone still in its plastic. "Keep or toss," the note said. Evan kept the mic. He thought it would be fun or school projects. The first weird noise came on a Tuesday night. He woke at 3:13 a.m. to a soft knock. Not the front door, not the window, exactly where his headboard touched the wall. He sat up, heart thumping. The room was quiet again. Old pipes, he told himself, and fell back asleep. On Wednesday, the same thing. 3:13 a.m., a small knock. He got up and checked the house, doors locked, windows latched. The thermostat read 68. When he crawled back under the covers, he told himself he had heard wind loosen a branch. At school, he was tired and over-caffeinated. "You okay, Mr. Parker?" asked Ellie from the front row. "I'm great," he lied, and drew a big, cheerful sun on the whiteboard to prove it. By Friday, the noise wasn't a knock. It was a long, dry whisper, like paper sliding against wood. It came from the living room wall near the old floor vent. It lasted 3 seconds, stopped, then came again, a little shorter. Evan stood very still and felt the hair on his arms lift. He talked back, because it felt less scary to make words than to only hear them. "Okay," he said to the room, voice shaky. "If you're a pipe, squeak. If you're a mouse, scratch. If you're a weird house thing, be done." The whisper did not squeak or scratch. It faded, like a person leaning away. Saturday morning, he told his older sister Jenna on FaceTime. "It's an echo," she said, stirring her coffee. "Or, your brain is echoing you because you're not sleeping. New houses do that to people." "It happens when I'm not talking," he said. "Then it's the fridge," she said, "or raccoons in tiny tap shoes. Come over tonight if you want." "I'm fine," he said, which was almost true. But that afternoon he unpacked the old podcast mic, plugged it into his laptop, and tested the levels like it was a lab experiment. He set his phone to record too, screen down on the table. He lined them up like 2 little red eyes. The day slid into evening. He cooked eggs for dinner because eggs felt safe. He watched a basketball game with the sound low. At 11, he killed the TV and read a chapter of a mystery book he didn't follow. At 12:40, he dozed on the couch. At 1:55, he woke to the soft click of the heater. At 2:58, he told himself he would not look at the clock again until morning. He looked, of course. 3:12. He sat forward. "Testing," he whispered, because science class had taught him that rules make fear feel smaller. "This is Evan. If you are pipes, please stop at 3, because I need sleep." Silence. "Hello?" he tried. The wall gave a breath back. Not words. Air, cool and thin. He leaned closer, hand on the paint. It was cold enough to sting. "Echo?" he said, quiet. "Echo?" the wall said a half-second later, in a voice like his, but far away. He jumped back and almost laughed, because that could be an echo, right? Old plaster, weird angles, sound bouncing. He clapped once and listened. No clap came back. His laugh died. "Who are you?" he asked, half hoping the wall wouldn't try. "Who are you?" It copied, late and thin. He swallowed. "Say something only you would know." The wall stayed quiet. He decided that meant he'd won. He went to the kitchen for water, proud of how steady his legs were. The fridge hummed like a content animal. The stove clock showed 3:13 in soft blue numbers, even though he was sure a minute had passed. He didn't like that. He returned to the living room and found the lamp on, though he didn't remember switching it. He sat. He breathed. The red dots on the phone and mic blinked together like a tiny heartbeat. He talked to fill the room. He told the wall boring facts about his day. "We made leaf prints," he said. "Sam lost a tooth. The copy machine jammed again." He waited. No reply. "Okay," he said, almost light. "We're done." He reached to stop the recording. From inside the wall, the voice came back, not copying this time. Slower, warmer, trying. "Done. Okay." The lamp buzzed. The baseboard clicked. He didn't sleep after that. He sat very still until sunrise made a pale stripe on the floor. When the world looked like itself again, he played the recording. His voice filled the room, hushed and unsure. Then the second voice came through the speaker, thin, late, not an echo. "Echo," it said. "Who are you?" it said. "Done. Okay." He saved the file with shaking hands and named it 313A. Sunday afternoon, he asked his next-door neighbor, Mrs. Green, if anyone had mentioned odd noises on the block. "Houses sigh," she said kindly, handing him a plate of cookies because she was that kind of neighbor. "Especially the little ones. The night makes them louder." She watched his face. "If you get scared, call. I don't sleep much. Too many crime shows." She laughed. He tried to laugh too. That night was a low. The heater behaved. The fridge hummed steady. He left the lamp on and dozed like a cat. At 3:13, the house said nothing. He almost cried from relief and embarrassment. Both. Monday brought the high again. He set both recorders, sat on the rug by the vent, and waited like a fisherman who didn't actually want a bite. When the minute turned, the paint cooled under his palm as if a window had opened on the other side of it. He whispered, "Please don't," because please and don't are small, strong words. "Please," the wall returned, then added, proud of itself, "Don't." His phone lit on its own. The screen unlocked. The Notes app opened. Letters appeared one by one, as if invisible thumbs were testing a keyboard. "I hear you." Evan's mouth went dry. He typed back with a stiff finger, "Who are you?" The letters vanished and reappeared, slow, careful, "Here." He stood without meaning to. The lamplight looked too yellow. The corners looked too dark. He stared at the baseboard. The paint bulged there, just a little, like a bubble under wallpaper. He touched it. It was cold, and it pulsed once, as if the wall had a small, weak heartbeat. He set the phone down, picked up the podcast mic, and tried to sound calm. "How many of you are there?" The living room air thinned. He heard the sound of his own breath in his ears. When the reply came, it was not a copy. It was a number said like a new word. 6. He almost dropped the mic. "Are you stuck?" "Stuck," the wall said back, softer. "Cold." He pictured 6 hands on the other side of the drywall, small and gray, waiting. The thought made his knees bend until he was sitting on the rug without meaning to. "I can't open the wall," he said, mostly to himself. "I can't. I won't." The thermostat clicked in the hall. The heater should have started. It didn't. The house stayed still. His phone screen dimmed and went black. The red record light kept blinking, stubborn and calm. He told himself to make a plan. Save the audio, call a contractor in the morning, maybe sleep at Jenna's. He stood. He walked to the door and set his keys in the bowl, because doing normal things makes a room feel normal. He came back and turned the lamp a little lower, because softer light made the shadows shorter. He sat and folded his hands and looked at nothing for a while. When he finally looked down, gray letters were rising slow under the skin across, the back of his left hand, as if someone on the other side of the wall was tracing from below. The skin lifted, fell, lifted again. The letters formed with patient pressure, neat and even like a child printing. C-O-M-E. He grabbed a dish towel and rubbed hard. The letters kept forming. A-L-K. His breath came short. The final curve of the K lifted and sank. The words stayed there, faint and cold. His phone lit in the corner of his eye. The voice memo app opened by itself, and in his own voice, perfect and wrong, the speaker said, "Okay, I'm opening the wall." "I didn't say that," he whispered. "I didn't say that," the wall murmured back, and then added a new word he'd never taught it. Yet. The paint by the baseboard split with a soft tearing sound, and the chapter ends with 6 small gray fingertips pushing through the crack as the lamp blows out, and the house whispers his name again at 3:13. The lamp blew out with a tiny pop. In the dark, 6 small gray fingertips pushed through the crack like pale worms finding daylight. Evan froze. The air felt cold and thin, like the room was a balloon and someone had let half the air escape. His phone's red recording light kept blinking, steady as a heartbeat. "Stop," he whispered, voice shaking. "Please stop." The fingertips paused. They held there, pressed through the torn paint, not moving, like they were listening to the word, "please." Then, one by one, they slid back into the wall. The crack stayed. The room stayed cold. "Okay," he breathed. "Okay." The low came in like a tide going out. The fridge hummed again. A car rolled by outside. The house seemed to settle. Evan found the lamp switch by touch. The bulb stayed dead, but the streetlight leaking through the blinds gave the room a thin gray glow. He picked up his phone with careful hands. The screen woke. The recorder app was still running. The waveform looked like a little mountain range, peaks where his breath jumped, valleys where he held still. He saved the file and named it 313B. His fingers shook so much he had to try twice. He opened his text to Jenna. "I need help. Come in the morning, or now." He hit send. It spun and then said, "Not delivered." He tried again. Same thing. He walked to the front door and checked the lock. Solid. He checked the back door. Locked too. He set both his keys and a flashlight on the table by the door, because having them there made his head feel less crowded. He filled a glass at the sink and drank, even though the water tasted like the inside of a penny. He went back to the living room and sat on the edge of the couch. He set the phone, still recording, on the coffee table. He picked up the old podcast mic and held it like a small tool that might help if he used it right. "Listen," he said, voice low and steady because I made it be that way. "I can hear you. I know you can hear me. I won't open the wall. I can get someone who knows how to fix things. A builder, someone. But I won't break it open now. Do you understand?" The wall was quiet. Then it let out a long, thin breath, like wind under a door. The baseboard clicked once, very soft, like a fingernail on wood. His phone screen woke by itself. A single word typed, slow and careful. COLD. Evan's chest pulled tight. He swallowed. "I'm sorry," he said, and meant it. "But I can't open the wall." The typing stopped. A small pause. Then another word typed, even slower. HERE. He stared at the crack. The paint around it was bubbled, like soup skin. He had a picture in his mind he didn't want. 6 small hands pressed flat on the other side. He stood, because sitting felt like a choice to do nothing. He went to the hallway closet and pulled out masking tape and a flat putty knife from the moving box marked Tools. He came back and knelt by the baseboard. "This is dumb," he said to the empty air, "but maybe the draft is worse than the cold." He pressed a strip of tape over the crack, smoothing it with the putty knife. The room breathed a little warmer. He added another strip and another, until the whole line was covered, a neat bandage along the floor. He sat back on his heels. "Better?" The phone didn't type. The wall didn't speak. But the thin ache in the air lessened, like the room had put on a sweater. He exhaled and felt a little less alone. The low held a while. He picked up the mic and talked about normal things, the way people do when they're scared and trying to shrink the fear. "We made volcanoes in science class," he said softly, "the baking soda kind. Sam said his looked like a red cupcake, and everyone laughed." He told the wall about the old doorbells in the garage, and the broken snow shovel and the neighbors. Cat, Bean, who liked to sleep on his car. He said these things on purpose because the words made the night feel less sharp. "Evan," the wall said once, almost shy, like a kid trying a new language. He swallowed. "Yes." Silence. He decided that was okay. Not every answer needs another answer. He turned off the dead lamp, rolled a blanket off the couch back, and stretched out. He left the phone recording, face down. He left the flashlight by his knees. He pulled the blanket to his chin. He told himself he would stay awake all night, and then laughed at that, because his body had other plans. His eyes closed. He didn't sleep. Not really. He floated. When the furnace kicked on, he almost smiled. When it turned off, he listened to the space it left. Once he woke himself with a tiny snore and felt silly, which helped. The next high came thin and quick. His phone, face down, vibrated on the table. Once, twice, 3 times. He rolled and reached. The lock screen showed a new note he hadn't typed. A T313. He looked at the stove clock. 3:03. His throat went dry again. He typed back with a stiff thumb. No, not opening. He set the phone down with the screen up this time. The numbers on the stove blinked once and jumped to 310. He stared at them until they stopped feeling like numbers and felt like shapes. A soft sound came from the wall, not the crack this time, higher, behind a framed picture of his parents on their porch years ago, smiling with a cake. The picture shifted on its nail a tiny bit, as if a breath had touched it. He stood and straightened it with 2 fingers. "Please don't move things," he said, and heard himself sounding like a teacher again. "That's a rule." "Rule," the wall repeated, almost polite. He checked the time, 3:11. He thought of Jenna, of her sleepy voice, of the way she always said, "I'm on my way," even when she wasn't yet. He thought of Mrs. Green's cookies and Bean the cat. His house didn't feel like only his house anymore, which was odd and not all bad. The phone buzzed once more. The note app opened by itself again. Newlet. Urs appeared, patient and neat, as if a careful first grader were writing from memory. WEARECOLD. He stared at the space between words. "We are." He shook his head. "I can't," he said. "I'm sorry. Not now." The typing stopped. The stove clock jumped to 3:12. The room seemed to listen to itself the way a person listens to a faraway sound. Every little thing got sharper, the tick of the vent, the tiny hiss at the window, even the small squeak the couch made when he shifted his weight. He set the phone down and stood. He picked up the flashlight and clicked it on. A white circle landed on the wall like a small moon. He held the light low, moving it slowly across the tape line, looking for any place that might flutter or lift. The circle found a spot where the tape had a bubble. He pressed the putty knife there, smoothing it flat. "Better," he said. His voice sounded too loud. "Better," the wall said, softer. 13. The stove clock blinked the minute like an eye. The flashlight cone trembled in his hand. For a half breath, nothing happened. He almost laughed with relief. Then his phone's speaker spoke in his voice, clear and calm, as if he were making an announcement to his class. "Okay, I'm opening the wall now." Evan shook his head hard. "No," he said. "No, I'm not."